Hey everyone, welcome back. With the recent release of the new Iraq map and a video I just did, which will be linked below, on the mission, I flew from Incirlik Air Base on the Syria map and went to Iraq and then back to the Syria map. I've had some questions on the video on how I did that, so I just figured I'd go ahead and showcase how I did that real fast. It's very easy to set up. So what you have to do is you basically have to create 3 missions to do your one main mission. So right now here, we'll just go ahead and start this. We'll create a new mission and we will start in Syria. So the first thing you're going to do is you're just going to kind of plan out what you want to do. So like on the mission that I flew out of Incirlik. You can fly out of wherever you want. You can choose. You can fly out down here at Ramat David, which would be a lot shorter flight. It took about an hour and a half, flying like 350 to 400 knots, plus aerial refuel to go to Iraq. So basically what I did was I just grab your units here, went here, and I selected a F-16 because that's what I flew. Name it whatever you want, do whatever you want, and then set it down just like any normal mission. Do start on the ramp, and then what you could do is start putting down your waypoints. I did not want to fly through Syria, so what I did was I just placed a waypoint here, right here, and then I set that to my cruising altitude, and we'll say about 28,000 feet. And speed really doesn't matter, but I always put that stuff in there anyway, 350 knots. And after that, you can go ahead and set your other waypoints. So I do not want to fly into Syria. I want to go around Syrian airspace. So I came down here to Ramat David and put down the waypoint right next to or over Ramat. And on the map view, you can see the border zones here. And then over here is going to be your H4, H3. Over here, H3, this is in Iraq. And so what I did was I made a steer point 4 right here, and then a steer point 5 over at H3. This right here is the border for Iraq. What I did was I placed down a tanker at this location right here. We'll go with refueling, and then we'll do the other way. We'll do a KC-135, place it down, set it on your normal altitudes, whatever you want. One of my tankers was too high. As you saw in the video, I was kind of having to use an afterburner, but the 28,000 tanker wasn't too bad, so I'm going to set it at 28,000 feet, and I just put it at a normal orbit right there along the line that I'm going to travel. He'll just left-hand turns, so he'll be circling down this way, left-hand turns. And then you just orbit him. Pick a good speed, wasn't too bad. This one is going to be 430 knots at Mach 0.716. I usually bring these down just a tad bit, and I'm not exactly sure on how the speeds work on these still, because I'll set it at 390 or whatever, and it still says it's going super slow, super fast, whatever. So I try to just go by the Mach number 0.7, so 420. Do 420 knots right there at 28,000 feet, and then make sure you get your TACAN. This is how I do my TACAN numbers. So he's at 28,000, so I'm going to put it at 28 Yankee. His Yankee is usually used for air targets, I believe. Set the unit, and then the frequency I put at 328. So that way I know that the 328 tanker, I know he's at 28,000 feet, and it's going to be 28 Yankee. It's kind of brevity between the numbers, so that way you can remember. Like if you remember that it's at 28,000 feet, oh, then he's at 28 on the TACAN, and then 328 on the frequency. So that's what I did on this one. And then what I should have done, it would be kind of cool, is maybe put a zone around Syria here and have some patrols, some aircraft patrols, maybe some SAM sites, so that way, and then you could set up triggers. If you accidentally cross the zone, then the guys will come after you, the Syrians will come after you. So next thing you do to set up to the next mission is you're going to select here your trigger zones, and then just create a new trigger zone over here. You can either do it on the border or at H3. So we'll just do right here for H3. We'll create a new trigger zone. You can name it whatever you want. I usually do TZ for trigger zone, and then I'll do Iraq or whatever you want. Okay. So you set that, and then a lot of the times I'll go a big trigger zone, just so it's easier when you hit the quad point and you edit it, that you can grab it a lot easier. So what I'll do is I'll set this to wherever you want it, and then your last waypoint here, I always like put it pretty close to the border, so you kind of know when that trigger should be firing. So once I look at my distance from waypoint 4, 5, whatever the waypoint is that you put here, you can look at it and say, okay, I'm 50 miles from that trigger firing, so you can kind of get set up and get ready for that. And then after you got everything set down here on your takeoff side, make sure you select the loadout that you are going to carry on your mission. So you should already kind of know what kind of mission you're going to do, unless you're going to do some scripting to where it's going to be random. Then you're going to have to take some different things to handle different situations. In my case, I knew it was going to be a seed mission, so I loaded my aircraft with seed type loadout. So make sure you do that, and then you can save it. As far as the trigger, after you set everything out right here, what you want to do is you're going to have to save it, and then we'll have to go into another map. So I'll go ahead and save. We'll say seed takeoff tutorial. And then I save that as the tutorial. You can name it whatever you want. Just make sure you guys remember the names. All right. So, and then what we're going to do is come up here to new, and then you're going to select the Iraq map. Click OK. All right. So once you've loaded up your new map, in this case, it's going to be Iraq. You're going to zoom out, click on the map, find the borders. And then so this is where the border was, right about here with the Syria map. So I'm going to zoom in, and H3 is not an airfield on this map that you can go to because they put it on the other map. So I guess they didn't want to add it in here also, whatever. So basically I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm going to look around for H3. That's an H3 highway strip. I know there's an actual H3 airfield. So once you found your area that you came in from the other map over here, what you do is just go ahead and select your unit, click the ground, and then put in the correct aircraft, F-16. So after you've placed down your aircraft, go ahead and give it loadout, whatever mission that you're doing. Make sure you load it out for that mission. We'll just go ahead and select this one as a cap flight. After you select your mission that you want, make sure you put it at the corresponding altitude. So on the other map, I was at 28,000 feet, so I'm going to put 28,000 feet here. Again, speed doesn't matter. I have AI wingman. Some of this stuff does matter that you put in as far as like bombing and stuff like that for your actions. After that, what you do is select your waypoint. Just build your mission like you normally would build a mission here. So put it over here at Baghdad. I'm going to go do target run over here, put down all your bad guys, do everything, and then make your flight plan. Come back over this way. Back the way you came. So after you complete your mission, set whatever triggers that you want that tells you that the mission's over. Congratulations, mission complete. You can RTB, whatever you want. And then once you come back over here, now to go back to the other side, you just do the same thing but in reverse order. You click here, you create another trigger zone, name it going back, whatever you want. So trigger zone _ Syria, and then do your sizing so that way you can grab the quad points easier, put it wherever you want, however you want. You don't even have to do a quad point. That's just what I do because I'll make them smaller like this instead of a big giant circle. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. And then same thing before, you put your trigger wherever you want, and then put your waypoint to leave to go back to the other one on that spot, just like that. Okay, so after you have this all set up, you can go ahead and save this file. we will name this one Biap Seed Tutorial. So after you have everything set on this side, except for the triggers, we'll deal with those in a minute. We have to get all the missions set first before we do the triggers. So what you do is you'll go here to open, and then we will select the one that we made earlier, the Takeoff, and load that one. All right, so here we're back on the Syria map on the one that we made earlier for the return trip. And basically, you just leave everything. This is the fastest way to do it rather than making a new one, because you already have all these units and everything. So what you're going to do is you're going to come in here, just get rid of this trigger zone. You're not going to need it anymore. So after you get rid of the trigger zone, go ahead and get rid of your steer points. I'm just going to delete all my steer points. I'm going to select my aircraft to a turning point from the ramp. That'll allow me to click it and drag it. And then I'll reselect it here where I would load in, or just place it down at a rough estimated area about where you put the trigger on the other map, which is roughly in this area here by H3. So we're just going to load up there, and then whatever altitude you wanted to, whatever altitude you cross the border at, 28,350 knots. All right, so once you're on this screen, just think, if you're the kind of person that will drop their drop tanks as soon as they're empty, you'll want to kind of think about that at this point, because you want the loadout to be roughly what you're going to have when you come back. It's not always going to work out, because maybe you get into some air threats and you launch some missiles, and you can't really plan for that. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But in this case, I know I launched off I'm going to launch my AGM-88s, so I'm going to remove those. And then what I did here is I put my fuel slider. I kind of did a best guess on how much gas I'm going to have. I'm going to say about 600 pounds in this case. So let's say that's how much fuel I think I'm going to have at the end of the mission in Iraq when I fly all the way back across. That way you're loading back here, and then you can hit the tanker and then head home. That's what I did. So just go on through just like any normal mission. Put down your steer point 1, 2, 3, and I'm basically reversed the exact same steer points that I had on the previous mission, all the way back up to Incirlik, and then click the landing. That's it right there. Just save it. Okay, we're back at the Takeoff map, the original map that we did here in Syria. Now it's time to link the 3 missions together. So what you're going to do is set up a trigger. You're going to go new trigger. You're going to fire it 1 time, and then the trigger here is going, you can name it whatever you want. I'll just say border crossing. And then under conditions, you only want this trigger to fire when you reach your trigger zone. So you'll look through here and you'll say part of group, end zone, your group, which is aerial 1 in my case, and then the Iraq zone that we set over here at the border. Next thing, this is the main part that makes this work, is you go to the actions, new, and then select the action type of load mission right here, load mission. And then you select your next mission that we created, which is in Iraq, as the loaded mission. Click OK. Bam, there you go. That's it right there. That's saved. So now you will take off from Turkey, fly your waypoints, come down here, fly this way to hit 3, take on fuel, because we didn't put a tanker over in Iraqi airspace, be kind of dangerous. So take your fuel here, and as soon as you hit this trigger right there, boom, your next mission is gonna load. Now, the only problem is it's not seamless, so you're gonna have to select your unit type again and everything. So just make sure that this is set to client or player like normal, like you normally would. Sorry if I glossed over that earlier, but make sure you set it, either client or player. And then once you fly down here, fly your route, you'll get into this trigger. That trigger will load the next mission, and then once it'll automatically load the next mission, just like you started this mission. Now this mission right here is the takeoff mission. This is the first mission you're going to fly. So when you select your mission to fly from your list, select this one, the takeoff. All right, we're back here at our Iraq map. So now we have to set up this one, trigger zone Syria. So you just go here, same thing as we just did on the Syria map to get over here to Iraq. Trigger, new trigger once, select a name, border crossing. Go ahead and come over here and do your part of group in zone again. Trigger zone Syria, your group. Go over here to the action is going to load a mission. Load mission. Open. On this point right here, you return to Turkey. Click OK. And that's done. And then so now you'll fly your mission, kill the enemy, come back, and as soon as you hit the trigger zone here, it's going to do the exact same thing as coming here to Iraq. It's going to load the Syria map for you, and then there you go. You're off. You're heading back home, back to base to get some chow. Well, I hope this tutorial is going to help you guys out. Unfortunately, it's the only way to do it, but that's okay. We'll make it work, and it was still fun to do the flight, so I hope you guys like this tutorial. Give me a comment, like, subscribe for more DCS content. I don't do very much tutorials, and I don't plan on doing a bunch of tutorials, but this is one that I figured it'd be really helpful for you guys to have. There might not be too many things out there on switching in between maps, and this won't just work for this one. If you want to fly from Incirlik Air Base in Turkey all the way to, let's say, the Marianas map, you could do the same thing. Fly directly to the east or west, wherever you're at. Like if you're taking off in Nevada, go to the west and load mission, and then load the mission at the Marianas, and you can basically simulate flying between the maps on DCS. Again, I hope this helps. Hope you guys have a good one.